have about 9 minutes left of KU coverage of this pass, and we'd like to take you up on your offer to come in on the flight deck, if that's okay.
Come on in.
Okay, we'll do that. Thanks.
This is Mission Control Houston. This television live from Endeavour's aft flight deck, the aft cockpit of the space shuttle, as pilot Mike Bloomfield prepares to power up the shuttle's robotic arm to perform a photo survey of the starboard solar array wing. The solar array deployed last night. Operating the cameras for that survey using television on the arm is Canadian astronaut Mark Garneau. Also in view in the foreground, astronaut Carlos Noriega, who along with Joe Tanner completed a 7.5-hour spacewalk yesterday to install the 50-foot-long, 35,000-pound truss atop the International Space Station and prepare the solar array wings for their extension.
And Shannon, here's the tools we typically go out with if anybody wanted to see what it looked like when it's not on our suit. Doesn't weigh much here. Lots of fun in the water, though.
Hey, thanks for showing that to us, Carlos.
Coming up in just a few minutes as Endeavour and the International Space Station move within range of Russian ground tracking sites, we do anticipate also a possibility for television from aboard the International Space Station, that television via Russian communication systems, a status report by the International Space Station crew on the progress of their mission and their activities thus far.
We're the crew of the International Space Station Alpha. We're up in orbit. We've had our second dock day together with Endeavour. Our routine today has been pretty slow. Yesterday we were fortunate enough to watch some of the EVA uplink to us on one of the computers that we have. We have a digital circuit that shows us what's going on. We were following the P6 assembly, the joining of the truss to the station, the C1 assembly, and also a little bit of the, toward the end of the EVA, hooking up junctions, fittings, electrical connections. We were not able to see the solar array deployed. That was late last night during our sleep period. And today we can look out and see the starboard array fully extended. There are some technical issues about how the arrays are being tensioned that the ground's looking at. Endeavour, I talked to Brent Jett this afternoon about 1600. We discussed how things are going, what their plans were for tomorrow. And the EVA guys are pretty resourceful. And I think that between them and the ground, they'll figure out some way to make the starboard array right. And we're looking forward to getting more power on the station, having enough to heat the node up so we can get in there routinely, and having access to the full complex of modules that we have on board.
And Endeavour Houston on Air to Ground 2. Com check to see if the configuration was correct for the PAO event.
Commander Jett, it must have looked like you were in a simulation yesterday during installation of the P6. I was just wondering if you were you disappointed it didn't go smoother, or to turn that around, were you happy it went as well as it did?
Well, I guess that's a tough one to answer. You know, we're happy we've got the array out and that it's charging the batteries on the station, and and that's going well. Obviously, if everything goes smooth, that's the best case, but when things go wrong and you can overcome them, it gives you a little bit of satisfaction that your training was good and that you were prepared to execute the mission. So obviously we'd like things to go better, but we're happy we've been able to overcome most of them, and hopefully we'll get this last problem as well.
Let's pass it over to Joe Tanner. Joe, those helmet cam shots were fantastic, and we invite you to send us down any spectacular views you see on the next couple of EVAs. Question for you, though, while you're out there watching that starboard solar array unfurl, the sense I got from watching it here on the ground that it was almost a crack-the-whip effect. Did it ever occur to you at any point that this thing should stop and you should go a little slower, or was it hard to tell that potentially some damage might be done?
Well, we had seen the array deploy several times on the ground, and it deployed in a different manner. And I even mentioned that, I believe, as I was watching it. And I was trying to describe exactly what it was doing in case somebody on the ground really had a concern about it. And we were thinking about and talking about on the flight deck about whether we should stop or not. We can't go any slower. There's only one rate that those will deploy unless you do it manually. We were watching it closely, and the panels were sticking together, and as it continued to deploy, the panels would unstick, and it was pretty dynamic there for a while.
Watching through the helmet cameras yesterday, I was impressed, as everybody else was, that you could get a sense of how fluidly you move out there. As a matter of fact, the motion looked so easy that it looked more like you were moving the spacecraft itself than moving yourself. Tell me a little bit more about that. We got a little disoriented watching you. How did it feel? My gosh, it was beautiful.
You must be talking about Joe's views. You're much too kind if it was my views, especially early on. It takes a while to get your sea legs out there, as I mentioned, but I know the mantra that Joe and I kept repeating over and over as we're out there is go slow, and part of that is also go smooth, because we don't want to get ourselves out of control. It really is quite easy to move around out there, and actually quite easy to overdo it if you're not careful. But overall, hopefully it was a good view. I was trying to keep it steady enough for the view so much as just to keep myself under control.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, the downside of that helmet cam, though, is that you can't get away with anything. I'm not sure I like millions of people looking over my shoulder while I'm working.
Mark Garneau, the fact that you were operating that arm, carrying that $600 million package onto its spot, was that a nerve-wracking moment for you?
Well, I have to admit, my hand was shaking a little bit, but I had two very good people backing me up, making sure I didn't make any mistakes, and of course, Joan Carlos out there guiding me down, so my job was really quite easy, but I certainly was aware of the fact that there was something very expensive on the end of the arm. Okay, well, camera C is good, so we're going to go ahead and start with step 4.1.
Copy, we concur. Upper limit on the camera is 60 degrees F.
We copy 60, and we hope that's degrees C. That's what the camera's reading out.
Endeavour Houston, free drift, please.
Thanks. Houston, we stopped at 1 bay.
We should be seeing a resumption of motion just a moment or two from now, and motion has resumed. The movement of those latches are on the solar array blanket box.
And Houston, we've taken it out. It looks like another half a bay total. The battens are just out of the canister, and we still didn't have any luck peeling those last two arrays panels apart from each other. One of our suggestions would be to go ahead and to retract it back in and latch it in place, and then do what Brent just did, another command to put it out momentarily and pull it back.
Copy. Good suggestion. Let us talk about it for a moment.
And Mario, for information on the, because we're looking at it, the right blanket, one panel's worth closer to the mast is partially peeled, and then farthest away from the mast, about half a panel is with it. I'm talking, if you count 5 across on a single panel, that's what I'm referring to as a panel. It's a section of a panel.
Copy, Carlos. Thanks for the update. We're seeing it.
Okay, Mario, if you look at the camera C picture, if you start counting the where you see the solar cells, it's the sixth. That's 6 up from the bottom.
We see it. It's the one that's a little bit darker than the rest of them in the image.
Correct, and you can also see the edges have peeled a little bit.
We see that on the both left edge and the right one. The right one seems to be peeled back a little bit more.
Yes, we agree.
Endeavour, Houston with the plan.
All right.
Yes, Bloomer, we like your idea, and to be explicit, we'd like you to retract such far enough such that the tension bar is again touching the sill, and then stop the motion, and then re-engage the latches so that we get the high tension mode, and then do a quick motion outward followed by a stop. So essentially a little bump out, so the cycle between start and stop is as quick as you could probably make it with your hand motion.
Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll go ahead and take the tension bar back to the box. We'll latch it, and we're going to do the right box first, and then we'll go ahead and give it a quick... And Houston, we're going to pick up with the procedure now.
And just to be clear, the big picture at this point is to unlatch both boxes and press on with extending the mast.
Okay, Mario, we're going to unlatch. We don't think we need to do the 10-second and 30-second wait. We can just deploy till it, or send the command and wait for it to deploy. Is that correct?
Affirmative.
Again, those stuck solar panels on each of the 2 blankets on this port wing now fully unstuck, and a resumption of the deployment procedure can begin. There's about another 3 sections or so worth of solar array blanket yet to be deployed, which will be followed by a tensioning command to bring that array very taut to its fully stretched configuration. International Space Station Flight Director Jeff Hanley advising that we're ready to drive the arrays to their fully extended position. That will be followed by a tensioning command to bring those arrays very taut before they are latched in place to complete tonight's deployment. The mast is now driving to a fully extended position. Electrical Systems Officer very, very happy with the driving of the arrays to their fully extended position. Micro switches the wing now fully deployed. Micro switches confirm.
Houston Endeavour, they're going to let me make this final call. We have 2 tensioned blankets.
Copy that. Great work, gentlemen. You've got a lot of happy folks down here. We think you've earned your solar array wings, and we'll be issuing your new uniform insignia upon your return.
Thank you very much. You're very kind. There was a fair amount of tension in the cockpit.
Needless to say, the room down here was filled with electricity.
Even better.